Hello, everyone, and welcome to an overview about Chapel Haven Schleifer Center in New Haven, Connecticut. So glad you could join us today. So we often get questions about how Chapel Haven started, and the answer is with families. Back in 1972, there were a couple of families whose kids had graduated from Maplebrook School up in Amenia, New York, and they were trying to figure out what came next. And as you can imagine, back in the early 70s, there weren't a whole lot of options around for continuing education and growing independence for adults with disabilities. One of the families was a realtor, and they decided to buy a house down on Chapel Street in New Haven, which is how we got our name, putting together Chapel Street and New Haven for Chapel Haven. And they started out with about 6 adults, a couple of staff. We hear there was a dog, and from there continued to grow in the adults that they were able to serve. You know, in the beginning, they weren't quite sure what to expect. I think they started thinking, we'll teach them how to budget, how to get around, how to do some meal prep. They'll probably end up back at home, but that definitely wasn't the case. They realized that their adults could learn and grow and sustain independence and manage that ongoing with a little bit of support for the long term. So in 1976, we moved to our current location in the Westville neighborhood of New Haven, and have continued to grow in the services that we're able to offer to the adults in our community, as well as broaden who we were able to serve through our programming. Part of that expansion included the ASAP program, which stands for Asperger's Syndrome Adult Transition Program. Back in the early 2000s, we recognized that this particular learning profile really needed a unique approach with the curriculum, especially in terms of the social communication competencies, the self-determination, and the executive functioning aspects. So we worked with some guidance from folks like Michelle Garcia-Winner and people that were at the Yale Child Study Center who helped us to develop a curriculum to address that particular set of needs, as well as some assessments to help us understand if we were being effective with teaching them everything. And we have continued to grow to date. In the last 5 years, we've seen tremendous growth on our campus. We have an updated welcome center. We have a brand new residential transition program for the REACH program, I should say building for the REACH program, and we have a new building for our SAIL program. And I'll talk a little bit more about what each of those are in just a few minutes. As I mentioned, we are located in the Westville neighborhood of New Haven. Lovely community, very arts focused, very active community of leaders and organizers that are called the Westville Village Renaissance Alliance. We are members of that committee as well. And I really encourage you to check out the video link that's included here, or to visit their website so that you can see all the really cool offerings that are available within walking distance of our campus for both our adults and the staff to take part in. This just shows you a little bit that's within walking distance. We have places of worship, we have lots of restaurants, we have fun shopping, places to get your hair done, places to go out to eat with your friends. And it's become a pretty hot spot, I have to say, on the weekends in terms of, you know, folks from other parts of New Haven and other communities come in to take part as well. So today we serve over 250 adults across our programming. About 150 of those are graduates, who live out in the Westville neighborhood and continue to get a little bit of ongoing a la carte supports from us to help them with maintaining their independence for the long term. Others are transition students that are learning on our campus, and others might be graduates who continue to benefit from an on-campus housing option for the long term. One of the really important things to ask whenever you're visiting a program is if they are accredited, and find out what agency they're getting accredited from. We are receiving ours from the Commission for the Accreditation of Rehabilitation Facilities. And with them, you can either get no accreditation, a 1-year, a 2-year, or a 3-year accreditation. And I'm proud to report that we have consistently received the 3-year accreditation. And in fact, this December, we're going to be starting the process going into our 8th consecutive cycle of that. And The really great thing about that process is it helps us to continually reflect on our policies, our procedures, the types of services we provide, so that we can continually grow and improve in the work that we do. You see there that we're also listed as being an approved school for schools in Connecticut and Massachusetts, which means if a student has finished up the bulk of their high school academics and are ready to segue into transition programming, a school district could place the student with us to fulfill that aspect of their IEP. Sometimes school districts will do that just as a day placement. Sometimes districts will do it as a residential placement. And sometimes the families in the school district might work together for one party to do one piece and the other party to do the other piece. So definitely something to talk with your district about. And then lastly, we are an approved vendor for the Department of Developmental Services in Connecticut. Unfortunately, that doesn't come into play with our residential transition programming, but it can be a benefit and offer some funding for supports for those in our graduate community. And we are a lifelong community. You have to be at least 18 to enroll at Chapel Haven, but you can stay on for the lifetime. And in fact, we have some adults that are 71, 72 as our oldest right now, and are continuing to be a part of a really active community where they are meeting up with friends, living as independently as they can, and having a support network for anything that they might need. Just a note about our core values. These were developed with input from the staff at Chapel Haven, and it's something that we are working to continually recognize in each other and celebrate with our colleagues. And it's also something that we uphold with the adults that we work with as well. This is just a slide to show some of those folks I mentioned before about Michelle Garcia-Winner. Dr. Volkmar's recently been on our boards. Dr. Laurie Sperry is fantastic at helping us to evaluate safety practices, and particularly around use of technology. Dr. Barbara Cook has been a wonderful resource in helping us to make some nice connections with Southern Connecticut State University, and is also a part of our board as well. So this is just a quick shot of some of the faces that you might see if you were to go through the admissions process or if you were to come and visit campus. One of the exciting things when I look at the screen of folks is the longevity of the staff, particularly those in the leadership position. Our president, Mike, has been here for over 20 years. Inera, our vice president of transition programs, has been here 24 years. And many of us in leadership roles started out in direct care supports. And so we have lived it, we have breathed it, we have walked alongside with our adults, as we continue to do. And then, have used those experiences to help us develop into leaders that will continue to guide Chapel Haven as an organization. So I myself started out as a special ed teacher back in 2012, and then segued over to admissions a few years after that. So a little bit about what you could find at Chapel Haven. So usually when a family first calls, if the adult is anywhere between the ages of 18 and 30 and they're looking for transition programming, we would talk with them about two different options. One is called the REACH program, and you can see some of the diagnoses that are served in this program, though there are certainly some that are not listed here. And the students in this program really spend a lot of time learning how to do all the day-to-day nuts and bolts of adult life. They are very capable adults. They tend to be very outwardly social adults, though not always. And they do really well learning with repetition and building up systems and routines over time that they can then take with them into that graduate life in that more independent setting. As I mentioned earlier, we also have a program that was initially designed to serve adults with an Asperger profile, but now has also come to include adults that are on the spectrum without an intellectual or language impairment, maybe not even on the spectrum at all, maybe social communication or executive functioning disorders. This program also focuses on learning how to do things, but adults with this profile tend to pick that piece up pretty quickly, but need to spend a lot more time understanding the why behind it. And so we spend a good amount of time breaking down what those implicit social expectations are for various adult settings, whether it's work life or college or relationships, friendships, and make that more explicit so that they have an understanding of how they want to navigate that as an adult. So the ability to do some nuanced thinking and reasoning is an important part of the learner's profile for this program for the reasons that I just mentioned. I'm also excited to share that this year we are piloting a new program called CATCH, Connecting Adults to Chapel Haven. And this came about as a result of us getting lots of calls from families who had adults that were older than our transition student age. So maybe they were 37, 45, 56, and they really wanted a way to be able to become a part of our community for the long term. So the CATCH program is an opportunity for them to live in an apartment on our campus for about a year, get exposed to all the different programming that we offer, get acclimated to not only the Westville community, but the Chapel Haven community, and most importantly, to build some friendships. And following that year, then we can determine which one of our graduate communities might be best for that individual to segue into for the long term. This is just a little bit now in these next few slides about what all of our programs have in common. So I'm really proud that we are such an experiential learning program, meaning the menu planning, the grocery shopping, the budgeting that you need to do to buy your groceries, preparing your meals, that all happens in real time here at Chapel Haven rather than just in an isolated classroom setting. So it's day in and day out included in daily and weekly schedules. And it's great because the environment, the community where they're practicing and learning all of those things is the same community that as a graduate they'll transition into. So it makes transitioning those skills into the more independent setting much smoother of a process. All of our programs also include social communication competencies. We do have a full-time speech language pathologist in both the REACH and the ASAP programs. They teach classes, and then they also do some small group and individual work with students as well. We focus on community safety. I mentioned we're in the lovely Westville neighborhood, which is an urban setting, which we love because it affords so much access to so many community resources, either as a pedestrian or by using the public bus system. And so we are gradually helping adults to learn how to navigate as a pedestrian and as using public transportation or rideshare services. And we have brought a Director of Security and IT onto our staff in the last couple of years, who's really helped us to evaluate things that we have on campus to make sure that our community is safe here as well. Leisure time, that's a fun thing. That's what everybody gets excited talking about. So we do have really robust recreation offerings in both the ASAP and REACH programs. Those continue to be available for those in the graduate community as well. And in addition to that, the students are also learning how to navigate making friendships and making plans with each other. One of the things I really like seeing the REACH students do on Friday mornings is fill in, the activities that they're going to be attending that are probably going to be staff facilitated, but then deciding like, who do I want to spend some of my other time with? Who do I have some similar interest with? And how do I approach them to make plans? And what do I do if they don't show up at the designated time? So that's a really great piece of the rec and leisure time programming as well. Work. Everybody wants to know, when were we going to get a job? And at Chapel Haven, we make sure that this is included in programming from the very beginning, though we typically do start with some small volunteer assignments with the support of a Chapel Haven staff member to help them develop soft skills. So things that they're going to need no matter what their job is to be successful. Taking a break on time, lunchroom etiquette, how to talk with a coworker versus maybe how to speak with your boss. And once those skills are established, then we start working with our career ability team to work on more intensive internship opportunities and gradually narrow that focus of what that long-term career might be. Our programs also utilize a curriculum-based assessment. I mentioned earlier that folks from the Yale Child Study Center were really integral in helping us to develop that for our ASAP program. And then we also adapted it so that we could utilize it for students in our REACH program too. This is another really important piece that I don't always see other transition programs including, is just progress monitoring. So we are having formal meetings at the 45-day mark. So once the students kind of have that initial settling period, and then throughout the program at regular intervals, where families, the student, all the stakeholders are getting an update on how they're doing across the classroom setting, the apartment setting, the community setting, and developing and tracking the goals and objectives that are individualized to them that are going to drive their programming throughout their time here. Where we diverge a little bit between REACH and ASAT is that the ASAT program can also include college supports. So if a student wants to take a couple of classes while they're doing their ASAT programming, they can do that. We also have adults who've maybe come to us already having completed degrees and are looking for how to segue into the world of work. And then we have folks that come to us who don't have an interest in pursuing college, and so they're solely focused on that vocational path. If we are providing supports, it's typically in the form of executive functioning, social communication, how to navigate the logistics of college life, from the Disability Resource Center to, emailing and communicating with your professor. So this is just a little bit about tuition. You can see it broken down according to day programming and residential programming. We have that split because a lot of the times the school district placements that we get are just for day programming. I would say we don't tend to see a lot of private pay full-time day students, but that certainly could happen. The tuition includes a monthly allowance for students to do their weekly budgeting from. So that's how they're purchasing their groceries, their apartment supplies, toiletries, bus passes, paying for their recreation activities. Those are included in everything except for the catch tuition. The catch tuition does not have that piece included. A note that we do have a scholarship program that is needs-based, and so once a family has gone through the admissions process, that is something they can apply for if they need some assistance with tuition. So I know the screen is a little crazy looking, but essentially what it means is when you finish up your transition programming, whether that's as a younger adult or an older adult, you have somewhere to go to next that can be a part of our community for as long as you want to be. Community outreach services and the supported living program, those both mean moving off of our campus, getting an apartment or a condo out in the neighborhood, but then getting some ongoing a la carte supports from Chapel Haven to help with maintenance and to help with lifelong learning as well. They can continue to be a part of our recreation programming, adult education classes, vocational supports. So everything that was once included in the tuition now becomes a la carte fee-for-service menu that families and adults can pick and choose from. Our SAIL program continues to be a tuition-based program where adults are living on campus in either a one-bedroom or two-bedroom apartment, and they're getting day-to-day supports. Still super independent in their coming and going. Everybody has an individualized schedule, but just a little bit more incidental oversight. So the reason that we spend so much time talking about life in the graduate community is that does tend to be the trajectory for most of the folks once they complete their transition programming. You can see here some of the anticipated expenses. That 120 adults out in the community refer specifically to those who graduated from the REACH program. And this is one of the nice places where folks might be able to tap into some funding from the Department of Developmental Services if they qualify. So those one-to-one case management services, vocational supports, there's one more, day programming that they might be able to get some funding for. And then you can see on average that once a new grad has settled in and kind of gotten established in their new setting, we tend to average about 2.5 hours a week of those one-to-one supports, which is pretty tremendous. So again, just some of the things that could be provided if you were in that graduate community. benefits coordinations, that's something I didn't mention earlier, but we do have a service to assist families with completing their SSI paperwork or their state benefits paperwork related to entitlements, something that I give a big hats off to, because that is a whole different area of expertise that I do not have, but thankfully Alicia and Sunny do. And then again, just about our SAIL program here. That program is currently full, I have to say, but we are looking for ways to expand our campus offerings and really the buildings to allow more adults to take part in this programming in the future. So stay tuned within the next 3 to 5 years. So I referenced before about an adult day program. We call it the Community Life Program. And if an adult has a day service option from DDS, that can be funded by that type of budget. And this can also serve adults who have never had any part of our residential programming here. So in fact, one of the gentlemen in the picture here actually is somebody who's never lived at Chapel Haven, but has been a long-term member of CLP. I also want to note that our recreation program is open to folks that have never been a part of our residential community, as are continuing adult education classes. So we always encourage local families to consider those as ways to add meaningful structure and meaningful social interactions to their adult's life, even if they're not going to come here and do the full comprehensive programming. Career Ability as our vocational team, they came about around 2017 and have really made an impact on our vocational outcomes. They have really tightened up the types of internships that we're able to offer, the type of exploration that they're able to do with job seekers, and the type of customized employment that they're able to help adults gain and keep, because that's the important part. It's not just getting it, but keeping it for the long term. And you can see we've got a really exciting statistic there about how many have met and retained employment from the 90-day mark. We also track that out to the 6-month and 12-month and have just continued to see that go up and up and up. Another great thing about Career Ability is that it's not just about having a bank of jobs with a set group of employers and then deciding who we're going to plug into those. But it's really about following the lead from the adult with the type of interest and skill set that they have. And so if somebody wants to work in, let's say, manufacturing, and we don't have any manufacturing relationships right now, we actually do, which is wonderful, but we would have a job developer who could go out and start meeting with local employers to see if we could make a partnership that would meet their needs as well as be a supportive setting for the adults that we work with. Just a little shout out to UArts. They make all of our fantastic spirit wear. They also offer different artisan training programs. So we all love to do like our birthday shopping and our holiday shopping whenever they have some new merchandise out. So if you have followed along today and you think, yes, this sounds exactly what my young adult is looking for, or even my older adult, as I talked about, is looking for, these are some of the steps to the admissions process. As I said before, you do have to be at least 18 to enroll, but you could potentially start the process as a 17-year-old. We do want to make sure that adults who start that admissions process want to start the process, that it's not just coming from family. Even if there's nerves, even if there's uncertainty, that they're willing to say, okay, yeah, I'll come and I'll check this out. And we have specifically structured our admissions process to take it little step by little step so that hopefully we are decreasing the anxiety of the prospective student while we're taking our time getting to know each other. Our contact information is listed below. Cody O'Donovan is our amazing admissions associate and would be happy to have a conversation, as would I. And I encourage you to check out our website and pay attention to when our e-blasts come out. We do offer an at-a-glance tour the first Thursday of most months. Sometimes we have to play around with that because of holidays, from 12 to 1 p.m. So it's a walk and talk tour. Our student ambassadors are there. You get to meet some staff along the way. So that can be a really nice compliment to having watched this video. So thank you again. I hope that we'll be able to hear from you soon.